Welcome to today's class. For today, we'll be looking at the limits of a function of several variables. Let's take this example. It says evaluate the limit of x cubed minus y squared all over 2x squared plus y, taking the limit of x as it approaches 0 and y as it approaches 1. So how do you solve this? The step is very simple. Your first step is to substitute x as being equal to 0 into this given function. So if you do that, what we'll get is that will be equal to, so whenever I say x, I'll put 0. That becomes 0 cubed, that's x cubed, minus y squared all over 2x squared. That becomes 2 into x. What's x there? 0 squared plus y. So I have this. This is equal to 0 cubed is 0 minus y squared all over 2 times 0 squared gives you 0 plus y. So I have this. If I work on this, this is equal to minus y squared all over y. So at this point now, my next task will now you simplify this, or you could now bring in the second limit. The second limit is what you have here, where they said x, y approaches 1. So your next task, number 2, is to substitute y as being equal to 1. If I do that, that becomes minus y squared all over y will be equal to minus 1 squared all over 1. And that's equal to minus 1 squared gives you 1. 1 squared gives you 1 all over 1. And that's equal to minus 1. So my answer is simply minus 1. This is how we solve this question. Alright, so in this question we are asked to evaluate the limit of 4x squared y minus 2z cubed plus 5xy to the power 4z as x approaches 1, y approaches 2, and z approaches minus 1. So how do I solve this question? Your first task, of course, as usual, is to put x as equal to 1. If I put x as 1, then I'll have that this function becomes 4 into x squared becomes 1 all squared y minus 2z cubed plus 5 into x becomes 1, then y to the power 4z. So we have this. Simplifying further, this will be equal to 4 into 1 squared gives 1, then 5 minus 2z cubed plus 5 times 1 gives 5, y to the power 4z. So I have this question here. Alright, simplifying again, this will be equal to 4 times 1 times y gives you 4y minus 2z cubed plus 5y to the power 4z. So I have this task here. Alright, so I'm done simplifying the x. My second task would be to put y as equal to, so going back to my question, you can say that y approaches 2. So put y as being equal to 2. Put y is equal to 2. What do you get there? So that will now be equal to 4 into y. But we said y is 2. So it becomes 4 into 2 minus 2z cubed plus 5 into y. That's 2 to the power 4 and then z. So I have this. This is equal to 4 times 2 gives you 8. So I have 8 minus 2z cubed plus 5 into 2 to the power 4 gives you 16. 16, then I have z. Final task, simplifying again. This is equal to 8 minus 2z cubed plus I have 16 times 5, and that gives me about 80. That's 80z. Alright, so I'm here. My last task, step 3, would now be to put z as being equal to, so going back to check my question here, it gives z as minus 1. So put z as being equal to minus 1. So that will be equal to 8, starting from here, so it becomes 8 into, okay, 8, then minus 2 into z cube minus 1 all cube plus 80 into z. Z is minus 1. So I have this value here. Simplifying further, that's equal to 8 minus 2 minus 1 all cube gives you minus 1 plus 80 times minus 1 gives you minus 80. Work on this. This is equal to 8 minus 2 times minus 1 gives you plus 2 minus 80. Okay, so solving further, this is equal to 8 plus 2 gives you 10. 10 minus 80, that's equal to, okay, so 10 minus 80, that's equal to minus 70. So the solution to this question is minus 70. This is how we solve this question. Okay, so let's look at this question. This question says, which of the following functions are defined at the indicated points and which are not, but has a limit at such point? So how do we solve this question? All right, so the first thing is this solution. I'll write out my given function for a. I'm given the limit of the function 3x squared plus xy as x approaches 1 and as y approaches 2. All right, so my first task, as usual, would now be to put x as equal to 1. So my first task is, so case 1, put x as equal to 1 in the function. The given function was 3x squared plus xy. So put x as equal to 1. It becomes 3 into x is 1. So 3 times 1 squared plus x, that's 1 times y. And this is equal to 3 into 1 squared is 1 plus 1 times y is y. If I work on this, this will give me 3 times 1 is 3 plus y. So I have this answer. My next task now would be to put y. So my task 2 would be to put y as equal to 2. If I put y as 2, what do I get there? I'll get something that looks like this. So what I have left is 3 plus y. So put y as 2. That will be equal to 3 plus y is 2. And that's equal to what there? 5. So the first question was this. They said, which of the following functions are defined at the indicated points? So how do you know that a function is defined? The function is defined if I have a number as my final answer. Of course, not 0. In this case, my final answer is 5. That means we can say that the function is defined at that point. All right. So hence we can say that hence the function is defined at x equal to 1. So we can say the function is defined at x equal to 1 and y equal to 2. We are saying it is defined because when I do my direct substitution, that means when I put x as 1 and y as 2, I had a number 5 as my final answer. So whenever you get a number as a final answer, it's said to be defined. But if you get 0 as a final answer, it's said to be undefined. So hence, we can say in conclusion that the function is defined at x equal to 1 and y equal to 2, and its limit also exists at this point. All right, the limit here is 5. That's my answer. So it's defined and the limit also exists in this point. Let's look at the B part. B part is limit. So let's get the B part. B there. B says the limit of, I think, x squared minus y squared all over x minus y as x approaches 1 and y approaches 1. All right, so let's get this done. How do we solve this? What do we do? All right, so for this, how do we solve this question here? What do we do? Let's do a direct substitution. So my first task, as usual, is to put x as equal to 1 in this function. So that will be equal to, I have something that looks like, so x squared becomes 1 squared minus y squared all over x minus y becomes 1 minus y. And that's equal to 1 squared. That's this gives you 1 minus y squared all over 1 minus y. So I have this. All right, my task 2 will now be to put y. Also, put y as equal to, I'm also giving y as 1. So as equal to 1. That means my function, which is 1 minus y squared all over 1 minus y, will be equal to 1 minus y is 1. So it becomes 1 squared all over 1 minus 1. If I should solve this question here, if I should solve this, this would be equal to, I have this as being equal to 1 minus 1 squared is 1 all over 1 minus 1. And that will be equal to 0 all over 0. Since I have 0 over 0, 0 over 0 of course is equal to undefined. So hence we can say that the function is not defined at this point. So that means we look for an alternative method of solving this. So what alternative method can we use? If I check carefully in my question, if I check carefully, the given question there was x squared minus y squared all over x minus y. If I look at the numerator there, that's this. The numerator is a difference of 2 squared. And for difference of 2 squared, we said if if two terms are being squared and they are subtracting themselves, this should be equal to, that's I'm saying x squared minus y squared should be equal to x plus y multiplying x minus y. Alright, so this is what you have for difference of 2 squared. So if that's true, this means my answer will be equal to, numerator becomes x plus y all over, denominator becomes x minus y all over x minus y. At this point now we can see that the denominator here, this one here, can cancel this term. So that's equal to x plus y. So I now have x plus y. So from this point now, my task will now be put x as equal to 1. If I put x as equal to 1, so put x as being equal to 1. So what do I get there? X plus y will now be equal to 1 plus y. So I have this. Alright, having done that, my next task, that's task 2, will now be put y as equal to 1. So I'm having 1 plus y, but we said y is 1, so it becomes 1 plus 1, and that's equal to 2. So hence, the limit exists. That means my final answer is 2. But 2, I didn't get 2 by doing direct substitution. So that means the function is not defined at the point, but then the limit exists. For my question 2, we can say that the function is not defined at this limit here. The function is not defined, but then a limit still exists. What limit exists? The limit that exists is these two here, but then the function is not defined. Why is the function not defined? The function is not defined because when I did a direct substitution, I had 0 over 0, which gave us undefined. Alright, so this is how we solve this question. So in simple terms, we can say a function is said to be defined if on direct substitution you have an answer. just like in example 1, if I do a direct substitution and I have an answer here with direct substitution, then we can say the function is defined. But if I do a direct substitution and I have an undefined term like this, such that I'll now have to go and use other mathematical concepts such as difference of two squares or difference of two cubes to solve, then we can say is an undefined function. But whichever way, we can see that a limit exists. For the first question there, the limit is plus 5. For the second question there, the limit is plus 2. All right. So this is how we solve this question.